He's been the House member from Alaska from 1973. Decades. That guy has been there 50,
Yeah,
almost
those
50
those kind
years.
of like non-lower 48 states, both Alaska and Hawaii, they are very much known for having senators for a long time. All right, so let's go. Let's break out the battleground map now for the Senate, or not for the Senate, but for the presidential states. Very, very interesting. We will start with your rundown of what's at play from the South on up in each battleground state. We'll start with Florida. What's that play? Who's going to win?
I think Florida is a true toss-up. I think right now, I think Biden has a very slim chance of winning. It's probably going to be like 0.3% difference, in my opinion, this election. Here's why. The 65 plus vote is a very large vote in Florida. You got a lot of old people retiring down there, etc. That vote at the same time has actually been starting to tilt towards Biden uh, nationally and in Florida. And that's something that's probably going to actually help him quite quite a lot in that state because of the fact that he will be able to consolidate his support amongst those people while also looking at working amongst Hispanics, who he's really not doing good in. And that's why I say a slim chance of him winning that state overall. But moving to another battleground, North Carolina, which is still in the South area, I think a good shot at winning North Carolina again, mainly because a lot of the people who are in North Carolina, well, yes, Cal has a good chance of winning the Senate race. I think Trump is going to have a better chance of winning North Carolina. Fact that he's held up relatively well in the polls. He's not winning the polls. Biden is up, but Biden really hasn't gone above the 50% mark in many of the polls there, which is that's the indicator as to whether or not he win, all the margin of error, which is something that is kind of a red flag for Biden if he's actually interested in winning that state. But the other South state that I think many people are looking at quite a lot is Georgia. Um, and this is the thing with Georgia. I can't say whether or not Trump or Biden will win Georgia because Georgia's really it's a changing state. You look at the Atlanta suburbs, a lot of people moving there from states like California and other states, other blue states, and the African American vote there, like South Carolina, is very influential. Now, it depends on if Biden actually wants that vote because, basically based off his campaign right now, he really doesn't give a damn about who he gets because he thinks this is going to be like he's going to win by like 500 electoral votes. He's going to win every single state that he can think of in his head. And that's how this election is going to go down. But that's not really how it's going to go down if he continues down that path because, look, he can win Georgia. He can win Iowa. He can win Ohio. And he can definitely win Texas if he started battling for those states months ago. Okay, Hillary lost Texas by a small percentage. Beto lost Texas by, I believe it was like 3%. There is little to no reason as to why Biden couldn't have really pressed hard in Texas and possibly won. Same with Ohio.
Do you think
But I
he's
think the
going to win
states
now
that
or no?
do I think Biden? I think Biden has a very. I think the percentage chance of Biden winning is 55% right now out
In
of
Texas?
100.
In Texas
Oh
or in
no, over.
general?
In general. In Texas, I think Biden's at like 45% in Texas, but in general, 55%.
Wow, that does seem quite low considering the way things are in those kind of key battleground polls in these key battleground areas. So let's start with going up to the real kind of transition areas. Pennsylvania, for one, that is going to be a big one that people are really, really watching. A very, very close state last time around. So many different dynamics as we talked about when we talked about the House races and Senate races here. In the beginning of the show, how do you see this one playing out? Polls, I believe, say about like 6 or 7 for Biden. I believe, is that correct? Do you see that holding?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say for Pennsylvania, I definitely do think Biden has a good shot at winning. And the reason why I say 55% chance for Biden is I don't want to get what's it called? I don't want to uh, I don't want to be overestimating, Trump's chances of actually losing because he showed us that he won in 2016, and the fact of the matter is, yeah, these polls are showing is up in many states. And I think that he is not going to win by a large margin. I think that he's in a really hard that he's tight in right now. He's going to have to fight hard in Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a state that, look, it went blue in 2018 with the governor. Doesn't come out in large numbers again for Biden. Maybe the mail-in ballots have a bad problem in Wisconsin. And the other thing as well you have to realize is that even if Biden wins these states, there has been talk under the table in many articles I've been reading that the Trump administration is trying to persuade these Arizona and Michigan, which are states that have Republican legislators, to put up Republican electoral college representatives instead. So, for example, if Biden wins the state,
oh, I see. So, like Republican Republican state legislator will change the party allegiances of the electors that decide the election. Do you see that would what are the? But before we freak out people here, like the chances are that doesn't happen.
Well, I can't, because with this person getting onto the Supreme Court, though, with Amy Coney Barrett getting on the Supreme Court, I don't know how, this case would go in front of this, because Trump doesn't assume. He's going to say mail fraud happened. He's going to say this happened, that happened. Okay, it's going to go in front of the Supreme Court. I have probably a 60% chance of that happening right now, because of the pretty much vulgar lies he's been spewing out of his mouth in regards to mail-in ballots. And, with this, I think that his team is going to try to make him not go through because it's a waste of money. It's going to just destroy his chances of actually people respecting him. I don't even know who actually has respect for him anymore.
I do want to go get to that. I do want to get to that, like the interesting stuff about that in just a bit. But before, just based on, so forget all the stuff with the mail-in balloting and all that stuff. That is definitely an important part. But just based on what you see right now, based on the polling, based on what you know, do you think Joe Biden wins in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin today?
Yes, I think he's going to win by a small margin.
In all three?
I think he's going to win in Pennsylvania by a small margin. I think Wisconsin's going to be probably the biggest of all three of them.
That makes sense.
I think Michigan has a good chance going for him because you have that Senate race.
Yeah.
You have that Senate race with Gary Peters.
That is another one, yeah. Gary Peters doing pretty strong. I think 5 to 7 points up there in that Senate race.
Yeah, actually, Bernie endorsed him, by the way. Bernie endorsed Gary Peters.
He doesn't seem to be that bad of a guy. He's definitely not a real stunner, but not that bad a guy.
Yeah.
There's some interesting kind of long shot areas here. Iowa and Ohio. Can Biden flip either of those states at this time?
I don't know, because after that fracking comment with Ohio, I don't think that's going to be possible. Ohio, I think it's going to be a really hard one. Iowa, however, I would not be shocked because, again, the trade war. Remember, that's why Joni Ernst is going downhill right now. I think Iowa, Biden has a good shot at flipping. Yeah, I do. I think that Biden has a 48% chance of flipping.
All right, so
I would say 48% chance of winning, and Trump has a 52% chance of winning.
Okay, so all right,
So I think it's tighter than it was last time.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on now to a state like Texas, and then Arizona. I'm assuming you're going to say pretty much up in the bag, and then that's pretty much it.
I think Arizona's going to be Biden's going to win because the strong support he's seeing from the military families right now, which is what the major base in Arizona is.
All right, and then we have Texas. That is one that probably will not go to the Democrats this time. I don't think either.
I don't think so.
I think also Florida is going to be really, really close. People don't realize that either.
No, Florida's going to be. I mean, Bill Nelson lost by 10,000 votes there in 2018. So this race is going to be tight because Biden is. I mean, look, Biden's more moderate than Bill Nelson, so I can't guarantee that he'll be able to win. But it's going to be a tight race with or without Joe Biden being moderate or not moderate, because Trump has held pretty well with Floridians, and he's shockingly gaining with Hispanics, which like he's losing the old support 65 plus, but Trump is gaining with the Hispanics. So it's like, he's losing one ground, but he's gaining on the other. So like this is the thing with Biden that he has to really focus on if he actually wants to win the race, because he's not campaigning, and that's really hurting him.
All right, so let's get now to kind of our last question. Very, very big question here, so we do have some time to answer it. How do you see election night and the week or two that follows playing out?
I think election night, if Trump is up in most states, I think he's probably going to go onto the stage and declare victory. He's going to say, we beat the radical left and this and that. I think in the coming days, however, as I mentioned, what happened with Arizona, you're going to see the blue the trickle, which is what they call, that's what they call it. Political scientists call after absentee ballots will be counted, which typically are from many Democrat voters. Same with mail-in this year, which is something that really hasn't been as wide in many other elections as it is going to be in this election. But I think as that starts to come in, and given the fact that the majority of the people who are requesting mail-in ballots are Democrat, we're going to see a blue trickle. And many states that are tight and tilting to Trump will probably start to go blue. And then Trump will start saying voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud, threaten a lawsuit. If the lawsuit goes through, like if his team actually says Trump go with the lawsuit, which I doubt will happen, because I think a lot of people on his team are just worried that if he goes with a lawsuit, he's going to be like so infuriated that he loses if he goes to the Supreme Court. But then again, I can't guarantee it's going to lose in the Supreme Court, given the fact that Amy Coney Barrett is going to be put on the bench. There's a good shot that if this goes to the Supreme Court, she could just vote, for him to be seated. And I really don't know what's going to happen in the coming days after the election, given the fact of what uncertainty has been spewed from Trump and what he said he would do after the election if he thinks there's massive voter fraud. As to what he says is voter fraud, because I think it's going to be something that I'm going to say one thing, it's going to be really interesting what's going to happen after election night, because what he's been saying for weeks and months now is sounding like a comedy TV show that I don't think America really has the time to watch right now.
Yeah, some of the rhetoric there has been very, very disturbing. I hope some of your predictions. I don't really think some of your predictions are going to be right. I don't think there's going to be a lot of effort placed into a coup. I'm not, or anything like that. Some kind of stealing the election results. I don't think there's too much to really worry about there. But
no, I don't think that's going to really happen.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a good chance that he's going to try to persuade, after the fact that they're going to try to do that. I wouldn't be shocked.
I really don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be that too successful. But we will see. It's definitely a very uncertain time, and we will be following it very, very closely. We are building an election day lineup of coverage with shows at 9. Midday and an 8 p.m. show to start covering some of the election results as they trickle in, and we'll take you however long that goes. We may have to do 2 rounds of that, so kind of in a similar structure to with the midterms that we did. James will be on for that, and we hope to see you then and for our election coverage and SWN content leading up to it. Spin News Flash. Thank you so much for listening.